If I had known that a single drive down I-95 would cost me my entire reputation, I would have turned around and never looked back. I was 33, the steady one, the daughter who fixed things. But when I pulled into my mother's driveway that evening, I wasn't walking into a family dinner. I was walking onto a stage my sister had already set, and the camera was rolling before I even killed the engine. The vibration of my phone against the center console was the only thing keeping me company on the 2-hour drive to Maplehurst. It was a gray Saturday in November, the kind where the sky looks like a wet wool blanket pressing down on the highway. I had ignored the first 3 texts from my mother, Diane, but the 4th one had been specific enough to make me turn the car around. "We need to talk. It is about the family. Do not make me beg. Anna." I was 33 years old. I had a job as a claims adjuster that required me to be suspicious for 40 hours a week, a credit score I had spent 5 years nursing back to health after a layoff, and a 1-bedroom apartment in Briar Glen that I paid for entirely by myself. Yet, as I took the exit toward the suburbs where I grew up, I felt that old, familiar revert. I was not Anna the professional. I was Anna the fixer, the one who came running when the water heater broke, or when Mom forgot her login password again. The house looked exactly the same as it always did, a beige split level with white shutters that needed a power wash. My father had been the one to care about the shutters. Since he passed, the house had taken on a tired, slumped quality, as if it were exhaling a long breath it could not quite finish. I pulled my sedan into the driveway, noting the brand-new white Jeep parked aggressively close to the garage door. Chloe. My stomach tightened. My sister was supposed to be in Philadelphia, supposedly working as a brand ambassador for some energy drink company, a job description that seemed to change every 3 months. If Chloe was here, the emergency was not a broken pipe. The emergency was Chloe. I unlocked the front door and stepped into the foyer. The smell hit me first. Vanilla and something sharp, like hairspray. "Hi guys. So I am back at my childhood home for a little mental health reset." The voice was high, pitched up an octave from reality. I walked into the living room and stopped. Chloe was standing in front of the fireplace, a ring light on a tripod illuminating her face with a ghostly circular glow. She was 29 but dressed like she was 19, in an oversized beige sweatsuit and perfectly clean white sneakers. She held her phone out, talking to the screen with a smile that did not reach her eyes. She saw me come in and didn't cut the feed. Instead, she widened her smile. And look who it is. My big sis, Anna, just walked in. "Say hi to the vlog." "Anna." She swung the phone toward me. I instinctively put a hand up to shield my face, dropping my weekend bag on the carpet. "Chloe, put that away," I said, my voice flat. "I just drove 2 hours." Chloe laughed, a tinkling, manufactured sound, and tapped the screen to stop recording. The smile vanished instantly, replaced by a look of bored appraisal. She looked me up and down, taking in my work slacks and the sensible cardigan I hadn't bothered to change out of. "You look tired," she said. "You should use that eye cream I sent you." "Oh, wait, you probably threw it out." "I did not throw it out," I said, walking past her toward the kitchen. "I am just tired because I worked a 50-hour week." "Where is Mom?" "In the kitchen." Diane Wood was standing at the counter, aggressively chopping carrots. My mother was a small woman who vibrated with nervous energy. She had aged rapidly since Dad died, her face settling into lines of perpetual worry. When she saw me, she didn't hug me. She just wiped her hands on a dish towel and sighed, as if my arrival was a burden she had graciously agreed to shoulder. "You made good time," she said. "You said it was an emergency," I replied, leaning against the island. "I thought someone was in the hospital." "It is a family emergency," Diane said, scraping the carrots into a pot. "We need to be on the same page. Chloe is going through a transition." I looked back at the living room, where Chloe was now adjusting the lighting on her tripod, checking her angles in the reflection of the mirror. "She seems fine," I said. "She seems exactly the same." "She is fragile," Diane snapped, her voice dropping to a hiss. She has had a hard year. The city is too much for her right now. She needs stability. She needs us to rally. I knew what rally meant. It meant money. It meant time. It meant me fixing something Chloe had broken. I went upstairs to unpack in my old room. It had been stripped of my personality years ago, converted into a guest room with generic floral art from a discount store. I sat on the edge of the bed and checked my bank account app. I had $3,000 in savings. That was my safety net. It had taken me 2 years to save that after the layoff in 2019 wiped me out. I was not rich. I was barely safe. I closed the app and stared at the beige wall, bracing myself for dinner. Dinner was a performance. Diane had made a pot roast, a Sunday meal on a Saturday, trying to conjure the ghost of a happy family. Chloe sat across from me, her phone face down on the table, vibrating every few seconds with notifications. So, Chloe began, stabbing a potato with her fork. I have this incredible opportunity. Here it comes. I thought, it is a loft space in Maplehurst, right near the downtown strip, she continued. Perfect for content creation. The natural light is insane. I can finally launch my lifestyle brand properly. That sounds nice, I said, keeping my voice neutral. How much is the rent? Diane intervened before Chloe could answer. It is very reasonable, but because Chloe has been working as a freelancer, the management company is being difficult about proof of income. They want a guarantor. The word hung over the pot roast like a bad smell. A guarantor, a cosigner. I put my fork down. Mom, I said, just to get her in the door. Diane said quickly, her eyes pleading. Once she launches the brand, she will take over the lease entirely. She just needs a signature. I looked at Chloe. She wasn't pleading. She was expecting. She looked at me with an expression of entitlement that made my skin prickle. I can't do it, I said. The silence that followed was sharp. What do you mean you can't? Chloe asked. You have that boring insurance job. You have steady income. I can't. I repeated. My credit is still recovering from when I was unemployed. If I co-sign and you miss a payment, it hits me. I can't risk it. Chloe, I am trying to buy my own place next year. Chloe let out a short, harsh laugh. Oh, here we go. Saint Anna and her 5-year plan. You are so selfish. Excuse me? I said, feeling the heat rise in my neck. Diane slammed her hand on the table. Enough, Anna. This is your sister. She needs a home. You are telling me you would let your sister live on the street because you are worried about a credit score number? She is not living on the street. Mom, she is living here, I pointed out, and she has a Jeep that costs more than my annual rent. Chloe stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. You have always been jealous, she spat. You hate that I actually take risks? You hate that people actually like me. You want me to fail so you can feel superior in your sad little life. I am not jealous. Chloe, I am responsible. There is a difference. Chloe grabbed her phone off the table. I don't need this, she said. I don't need your help. I will figure it out myself, like I always do. She stormed out of the kitchen, but she didn't go upstairs. I heard the front door open and slam shut. Diane looked at me with tears welling in her eyes. Real tears, weaponized tears. I hope you are happy, she whispered. You drove her away. I didn't drive her away. Mom, I just said no to a financial contract. Why can't you co-sign? Diane looked down at her plate. I have things tied up right now. It is complicated. The vagueness of her answer sent a little alarm bell ringing in the back of my head, but I was too exhausted to investigate it. I stood up and started clearing the plates. I am going to bed, I said. I slept poorly. The mattress in the guest room was too soft, and the house made noises I had forgotten. The groan of the furnace, the settling of the beams. Around 2 a.m, I woke up thirsty. I crept out into the hallway to go to the bathroom, but I stopped when I heard voices drifting up from the kitchen. They were hushed, urgent. Has to be the right timing, Diane was saying. If we push too hard, she walks. Chloe's voice was lower, harder to catch. It will play clean. The angles are good. We just need a reaction. She is so stiff. It is easy to make her look cold. But the papers, Diane said, I will handle the papers. You just get her to the table. I stood frozen in the dark hallway, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. Plays clean? Get her to the table? It sounded like they were planning a scene in a movie, not a family conversation. I took a step back. A floorboard creaked, and the voices stopped instantly. Silence. I waited for a heartbeat, then retreated to my room, locking the door behind me. I didn't drink any water. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself I had misunderstood. Maybe they were talking about the lease. Maybe plays clean was some social media term I didn't know. But the knot in my stomach wouldn't loosen. The next morning, the house was quiet, too quiet. I showered and dressed, packing my bag before I even went downstairs. I wanted to leave. I wanted to be back in my apartment with my plants and my silence. When I walked into the kitchen, the scene was set. Diane was sitting at the kitchen table. In front of her was a stack of papers. Chloe was leaning against the counter, sipping coffee. Her phone was in her hand, held loosely at her waist. The camera lens facing out. Sit down. Anna, Diane said. I stayed standing, my bag slung over my shoulder. I am actually going to head out. Mom, I think it is better if I give you guys some space. You are not leaving until we settle this, Diane said. Her voice was steady, authoritative. She tapped the stack of papers. What is that? I asked. It is an agreement, Diane said. Since you won't co-sign the lease, we found another way for you to help. This authorizes a transfer of rights for the family trust to be restructured. It frees up capital so I can help Chloe myself. I just need your signature as a beneficiary. I frowned. Family trust? Dad had left a small life insurance policy, but I thought that was gone years ago. I had never heard of a trust being active. I need to read it, I said, reaching for the papers. Diane put her hand over them. You don't need to read it. It is standard legal language. It just says you agree to let me manage the funds. Do you trust your mother, Anna? Or do you think I am trying to rob you? I looked at Chloe. She had moved slightly. The phone was higher now. I saw the tiny red dot of the recording indicator reflecting in the toaster oven. I am not signing anything I haven't read, I said clearly. That is not about trust. It is about common sense. Diane stood up. The performance began. Common sense? She shouted, her voice suddenly booming. Is it common sense to abandon your family? Is it common sense to come into my house, eat my food, and treat your sister like dirt? Mom. Stop yelling, I said, taking a step back. Chloe moved closer, the phone tracking me. You are so cruel, Chloe narrated, her voice trembling with fake emotion. Look at her. She doesn't even care. Mom is crying and she is just standing there with her bag. I looked at the phone. Chloe, are you recording this? Stop it. See? Diane yelled. She is paranoid. She thinks everything is about her. You have always been this way. Anna, cold, selfish. You think you are better than us because you moved 20 miles away? I am not signing the papers. Diane, I shouted back, losing my cool. I don't know what is going on, but I am leaving. I turned toward the door. Chloe stepped into my path. She wasn't just filming now. She was blocking me. Say you are sorry, Chloe said, holding the phone inches from my face. Apologize to Mom for being a bitch. Get out of my way. Chloe? I tried to step around her. She mirrored my movement, keeping the lens focused on my eyes. You are hurting her, Chloe screamed, though I hadn't touched anyone. You are emotionally abusing her. I pushed past her, my shoulder brushing her arm. It wasn't a shove. It was a navigation. Chloe stumbled back dramatically, crashing into the refrigerator. Ow! She shrieked. Oh my God! You hit me. I froze. I stared at her. She was holding her arm, looking at the camera with wide, terrified eyes. I did not hit you, I said, my voice shaking. You are crazy. Both of you are crazy. I turned and ran for the front door. I heard Diane screaming behind me. Don't you come back. You are not welcome here until you learn respect. Do you hear me? Get out. I burst out onto the front porch, the cold air hitting my flushed face. I fumbled for my keys, my hands trembling so hard I dropped them on the concrete. As I bent down to pick them up, the front door flew open. Chloe was there. She wasn't screaming anymore. She was silent. She held the phone steady, tracking me as I scrambled to my car. I threw my bag into the passenger seat and climbed in. As I reached for the door handle to pull it shut, Chloe stepped up to the car window. She looked at me through the glass. The camera was still rolling. Then, with a quick, precise movement, she slammed her hip against my side mirror. It snapped back with a loud crack. She winced, grabbed her hip, and looked at the camera. "She just hit me with the car," she yelled at the empty driveway. I didn't wait. I started the engine, threw the car into reverse, and backed out of the driveway faster than was safe. I didn't look back at the house. I didn't look at my mother standing in the doorway or my sister performing for her invisible audience on the lawn. I drove. I drove for 10 miles without blinking, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I kept replaying the scene, the papers, the red dot, the fake stumble. It felt like a nightmare, the kind where you try to scream but no sound comes out. Why? Why would they do that? It was just a fight. I told myself, just a horrible, toxic family fight. They would cool down. I would stay away for a few months. It would blow over. It always blew over. I merged onto the highway, finally letting out a breath. I turned on the radio to drown out the silence, trying to focus on the road, on the white lines, on the reality of the physical world. My phone buzzed on the seat beside me. Then it buzzed again, and again, a rapid-fire staccato of vibrations. I frowned. I glanced down. It wasn't Diane. It wasn't Chloe. It was Sarah, a coworker from the claims department. Sarah never texted me on weekends. I ignored it, keeping my eyes on the road. But the phone kept buzzing. It was relentless. I pulled over at a rest stop near the state line. My hands were still shaking as I picked up the phone. The text from Sarah was on the lock screen. "Are you okay? I just saw you on Instagram." My stomach dropped. A physical sensation of falling. I unlocked the phone. There was a link. I shouldn't have clicked it. I knew, in that split second, that clicking it would change everything. But I did. I clicked the link. It opened Instagram, a new account, at Truth About Anna W. There was one video posted. It had been up for 40 minutes. It already had 5,000 views. I pressed play. The video started with Chloe's tear-stained face, speaking in a whisper. "I did not want to post this," she said, "but I can't protect her anymore. People need to know what she is really like." Cut to a shaky clip of me in the kitchen. "I am not signing anything." I was shouting. My face looked twisted, angry. The lighting made deep shadows under my eyes. I looked deranged. Cut to Diane crying, her head in her hands. Cut to me pushing past Chloe. The angle was perfect. It looked like I had shoved her into the fridge with full force. The sound of her hitting the metal was amplified. Cut to the driveway. Me scrambling for my keys. "Get out." Diane's voice, off screen. Then, the car. The camera jerked. The sound of the mirror snapping. "She just hit me with the car." The video ended with a black screen and white text. "Domestic abuse isn't just physical, it is silent. #survivor. #toxic family. #narcissist." I sat in the idling car, the heater blasting hot air into my face, but I was freezing. I scrolled down to the comments. User 1. "OMG. That is horrifying. She looks evil." User 2. "I hope you called the police." User 3. "Who is she? Name and shame." User 4. "Stay strong, babe. You don't need that toxicity." I dropped the phone into my lap. I stared out the windshield at the gray highway, at the trucks rumbling past, oblivious to the fact that my life had just been dismantled in 60 seconds. It wasn't just a fight, it was a hit, and I was the target. The engine of my sedan was still ticking as it cooled, a metallic sound that seemed deafening in the silence of the gas station parking lot. I was parked between a dumpster and a vac and shine machine, hiding in plain sight. My phone burned in my hand. I had watched the video 4 times. I forced myself to look at the profile again. Chloe had not just posted a video, she had built a platform. The account handle was Truth About Anna W. The profile picture was a black and white photo of Chloe looking somber, her eyes downcast. A single perfect tear caught in the editing process. The bio read, recovering from narcissistic family abuse, survivor, truth teller, putting myself first, finally. I felt a wave of nausea roll through me. Narcissistic abuse. The words felt heavy, clinical, and completely detached from the reality of our relationship. I was the one who paid for her car repairs. I was the one who drove her to the emergency room when she had the flu. I was the one who listened to her cry about boyfriends for hours. But in the bio, I was the monster. I clicked on the video again. I could not stop myself. The editing was what chilled me the most. It was professional. The jump cuts were timed to the beat of a sad, piano-heavy song that was trending on the platform. The audio of my voice had been boosted, making my refusal to sign the papers sound shrill and aggressive. I am not signing anything. Then a cut to Diane, looking small and frail. Then a cut to me walking toward the door, sped up slightly to make my movements look jerky and violent. Then the caption, when your sister abandons her own mother for money. I scrolled down. The view count was climbing. 7,000 views, 8,000. It was moving too fast. The comments were a blur of cruelty. User 882. Look at her eyes. That is pure rage. Stay safe. Girl. Mom. Life_Jen. As a mother, this breaks my heart. How can a daughter be so cold? Justice. For Chloe. The way she shoved her at the fridge, that is assault. I wanted to scream at the screen. I did not shove her. She fell. She threw herself. But I couldn't type. My fingers were numb. I felt exposed. Stripped naked in a town square I didn't know I had entered. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat and gripped the steering wheel. I had to get home. I had to get back to Briar Glen, to my apartment, to the one place that felt like mine. Surely, this would stay local. Surely, this was just a Maplehurst drama that would burn out by Monday. I put the car in drive and pulled onto the highway, keeping my eyes strictly on the road, refusing to look at the device that was destroying my life from the passenger seat. The drive took another hour. By the time I unlocked the door to my apartment, the sun had set, leaving the sky a bruised purple. I stepped inside and locked the deadbolt, leaning my forehead against the cool wood, my sanctuary. My plants were green and quiet in the window. My books were stacked neatly on the coffee table. It was safe here. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again, I pulled it out, dreading it. It wasn't a text. It was an email notification. The subject line made my heart stop. Urgent. Noise complaints / police inquiry. It was from my landlord. Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson was a nice man, a retired teacher who usually only emailed me to wish me a happy holiday or ask if the radiator was clanking. I opened the email, my thumb hovering over the screen. Dear Anna, I hope you are well. I am writing because I have received several disturbing emails and phone calls this afternoon regarding your residency in Unit 4B. Individuals claiming to be concerned neighbors, though the numbers are not local, have contacted the management office alleging that there is a domestic dispute situation involving you that requires police intervention. One caller mentioned a video circulating online. I value you as a tenant. Anna, you have always been quiet and paid on time. However, I cannot have police activity or harassment directed at this building. Please clarify what is going on immediately. If there is a legal issue, I need to know. Regards, Robert Henderson. I sank onto the floor, right there in the entryway. My coat was still on. Strangers. Strangers were calling my landlord. They had found out where I lived. How? I had never posted my address. I had never tagged my location. I scrambled to my feet and ran to the window, peering through the blinds. The street below was empty, just the usual row of parked cars and the street lamp flickering overhead. But it didn't feel empty. It felt like 1,000 eyes were watching from the darkness. I went to the kitchen and poured a glass of water, but I couldn't drink it. I checked the video again. 50,000 views. It had jumped the fence. It wasn't just local anymore. A large drama account, one of those pages that aggregated fights and public freakouts, had reposted it. They had captioned it, "Ungrateful daughter gets kicked out after attacking mom." Thoughts? The comments on that post were in the hundreds. People were tagging their friends. People were stitching the video, filming themselves reacting to it. I watched a stitch from a woman I had never met. She was sitting in her car, wearing blue scrubs. "Okay, so I am a behavioral therapist," the woman said to the camera, pointing a finger at my frozen face in the background. "And if you look at her micro-expressions here, you can see the lack of empathy. That blank stare? That is a classic dissociation tactic used by abusers to deny accountability. This poor sister, you can see the fear in her eyes." I threw the phone across the room. It landed on the sofa cushions with a soft thud. A behavioral therapist, analyzing my face from a 30-second clip edited by my sister. I paced the living room. I needed to fix this. I needed to explain. If I just explained, people would understand. I could post a response. I could show my bank statements. I could show the texts where I sent Chloe money for rent last month. But as I reached for the phone again, a heavy, suffocating exhaustion pinned me down. Who would believe me? Chloe had tears. Chloe had the camera angles. Chloe had the narrative. I just had facts. And facts looked boring compared to a crying girl in a beige sweatsuit. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, refreshing the page every 10 minutes, watching the number climb. 60,000, 70,000. It was like watching a fire consume a house, unable to find a bucket of water. Monday morning was gray and rainy. I debated calling in sick. But the fear of losing my job was stronger than the fear of facing people. I worked at Westbridge Claims Group. It was a corporate environment, stiff and professional. Surely, nobody there was watching teenage drama on Instagram. I dressed carefully, navy blazer, white blouse, no makeup, because I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard. But then I realized the dark circles under my eyes made me look exactly like the unstable woman in the video. I applied concealer with a heavy hand. I drove to the office in silence. When I swiped my badge at the turnstile, the security guard, Ralph, gave me a nod. He didn't look different. That was a good sign. I took the elevator to the 4th floor. The claims department was a sea of gray cubicles. I walked to my desk, keeping my head down. "Good morning," I said to Sarah, who sat in the cubicle across from me. Sarah was typing furiously. She didn't look up. "Hey," she said. Her voice was tight. Sarah was the one who had sent me the text. She knew. I sat down and woke up my computer. I tried to focus on a claim involving a minor fender bender in Ohio. I reviewed the photos of the bumper. I checked the policy limits. But my skin felt hot. Around 10 o'clock, the internal messenger on my screen blinked. It was from Gary, my supervisor. "Anna, can you come to my office for a moment?" I stared at the message. Gary usually just shouted over the partition if he needed something. I stood up. The walk to his office felt like walking the plank. I could feel eyes on me. I glanced to the left and saw 2 interns huddled by the printer. They stopped talking as soon as I looked at them. One of them looked down at her phone, then back at me. They knew. Everyone knew. I knocked on Gary's doorframe. "Hey, Gary, you needed me?" Gary was a middle-aged man who hated conflict. He was looking at his keyboard, shifting papers around his desk unnecessarily. "Close the door." "Anna," he said. I closed it. The click of the latch sounded like a gunshot. "Sit down." I sat. Gary finally looked at me. He looked uncomfortable. "So, Anna, we have had a few notifications this morning." "Notifications?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "From HR. And on the public feedback line, it seems there is some sort of social media situation involving you." My face burned. "Gary, that is a personal family matter. It is a misunderstanding. My sister." "I am sure it is," Gary interrupted, holding up a hand. "I am sure it is complicated. but Westbridge has a strict code of conduct regarding public reputation. We deal with fraud. Anna, we deal with trust. When people search our employees, we can't have this attached to the company name. He turned his monitor slightly. On the screen was the video. Someone had emailed it to the general inquiry inbox. We are getting emails asking why we employ someone who abuses the elderly. Gary said, I abuse the elderly? I choked out. My mother is 55. She goes to spin class. It doesn't matter what the truth is. Anna, Gary said softly, it matters what the noise is. And right now, the noise is loud. He sighed and clasped his hands. I talked to the director. We think it would be best if you took a few days. Use your personal time. Just until this blows over. We can't have the phones tied up with this. He was sending me home. I was being suspended. Even if he called it a personal day, Gary, I didn't do anything. I whispered, I know you are a good worker. Anna, just go home, fix it, then come back. I walked back to my desk. I didn't look at Sarah. I packed my bag, turned off my computer, and walked out of the building. I felt like a ghost. I had been erased from my own life in 48 hours. I sat in my car in the parking garage. I was shaking. The injustice of it was a physical weight, pressing on my chest. I took out my phone. I dialed Diane. It rang 4 times. I thought she wouldn't answer. Hello? Her voice was calm, unsettlingly calm. Mom, I said, I just got sent home from work. There was a pause. Oh, Anna, I am sorry to hear that. You are sorry? Mom, Chloe's video is ruining my life. People are emailing my landlord. They are emailing my boss. You have to tell her to take it down. Please, Diane sighed. The sound of a martyr being asked to carry one more cross. I can't control Chloe. Anna, she is an adult. She is expressing her truth. Her truth? It is a lie. I didn't hit anyone. I didn't abandon you. You kicked me out because I wouldn't sign a trust document I hadn't read. Don't raise your voice at me, Diane said sharply. This is exactly what she was talking about. You are so aggressive. Mom, I am losing my job. If you cared about this family, you wouldn't be in this position, Diane said. Her voice dropped, becoming cold, detached, almost robotic. You made a choice. Anna, you chose your money over your sister. You chose to leave. Actions have consequences. The line clicked dead. I stared at the phone. If you cared about family, it was a script. It didn't sound like my mother. It sounded like a line from a bad movie. I pulled up Chloe's number. I didn't call. I couldn't bear to hear her voice. I typed a message. Chloe, take the video down. Now. I am losing my job. This isn't a game. You are destroying my actual life. If you don't delete it, I will sue you for defamation. I watched the bubbles appear instantly. She was online. She was probably refreshing the comments right now, drinking up the attention like nectar. A voice note appeared. I pressed play. Chloe's voice filled the car. It was bright, airy, almost laughing. Sue me? With what money? Anna, you just said you're losing your job. She giggled. A short, sharp sound. Then her voice changed. It dropped an octave. It became venomous. Don't threaten me. The internet loves me right now. And if you make me look bad, if you try to post some sob story or deny it, I will post the rest. You don't want me to post the rest, do you? The message ended. The rest? My mind raced. What else did she film? I had been in the house for less than 24 hours. We had dinner. We argued in the kitchen. I slept. I felt a cold prickle of fear. Had she filmed me sleeping? Had she gone through my phone while I was in the shower? What did she have? I didn't reply. I couldn't risk triggering her. I was held hostage by a file on a smartphone. I drove home and collapsed on the couch. I didn't turn on the lights. I watched the shadows lengthen across the floor as the afternoon turned into evening. I felt paralyzed. Every move I thought of, posting a defense, calling a lawyer, driving back to Maplehurst, felt like it would only make the quicksand deeper. A knock at the door made me jump. I held my breath. Was it the police? Was it an angry neighbor? Anna? It is me. Open up. Maya. I scrambled to the door and unlocked it. Maya Keene stood there, holding 2 plastic bags of Thai food and a bottle of wine. Maya had been my best friend since college. She was small, fierce, and worked in logistics. She didn't panic. She organized. She took one look at me, at my crumpled blazer, my smudged makeup, my red eyes, and stepped inside, kicking the door shut behind her. "You look like hell." She said, "Eat, then we work." I didn't think I could eat, but as soon as the smell of pad thai hit me, I realized I hadn't had a meal since the pot roast 2 nights ago. We sat on the floor of the living room. Maya didn't ask how I was. She just handed me a fork. She propped her laptop open on the coffee table. "Okay," she said, chewing a spring roll. "I have been watching the account. It is bad. Anna, I am not going to lie." "I know," I mumbled. "But," Maya said, pointing her fork at the screen, "it is also sloppy." "What do you mean?" "Look at the timestamps." She clicked on a post Chloe had made an hour ago. It was a carousel of receipts, screenshots of text messages between us. The caption read, "She has been gaslighting me for years. Look at how she talks to me when I ask for basic support." The screenshot showed a text from me. "I am not giving you any more money. Figure it out yourself." I squinted at the screen. I never sent that. I have said no, but I never said figure it out yourself. I usually say, "I can't this month. I am sorry." Look at the date. Maya said the text was dated Tuesday, November 14th. I was in a deposition all day November 14th. I said, "I didn't text anyone until 6 o'clock. "Exactly," Maya said. "And look at the font. The spacing between the bubbles is slightly off. It is an app. She is using one of those fake text generator apps to create a narrative." She clicked to the next slide. It was a photo of me from Christmas 3 years ago. I was frowning at a gift. The caption said, "She threw a fit because Mom didn't get her the expensive boots she wanted." I remember that. I said, feeling a surge of indignation. I wasn't frowning at the gift. I had a migraine. I spent the whole day in the dark bedroom right after that photo was taken. Maya nodded. She is rewriting history. Anna. She is taking real moments and stripping them of context. Or just inventing new ones. But here's the thing. She is moving too fast. She is posting 5, 6 times a day. She is hungry for the engagement. Maya opened a spreadsheet. She had already started one. "What is that?" I asked. "Documentation," Maya said firmly. "The first rule of logistics, track everything. We are not going to comment. We are not going to argue with user soccermom44. We are going to save every video, every caption, every comment she makes. We are going to archive the URLs. We are going to timestamp everything." "Why?" I asked. "The damage is done. Because this isn't just a tantrum anymore." Maya said, "Look at the link in her bio." I leaned in. I had missed it in my panic earlier. Below the bio, there was a link tree. Maya clicked it. 3 buttons popped up. My Amazon wish list for the new apartment. Cash App. Dollar Healing to Chloe. Business inquiries. Management at Pelshore. .com. I stared at the screen. "She is asking for money," I whispered. "She is monetizing the trauma." Maya said grimly, "But look at the third one. Business inquiries. Management at Pelshore.com. "Who is Pelshore?" I asked. I looked it up. Maya said, "It is a consulting firm, reputation management, crisis PR, brand strategy." My blood ran cold. "Chloe doesn't have a manager." I said, "She can't even manage her own laundry." "She does now." Maya said, "And that email address?" "It was added 2 hours ago. Before that, it was just her Gmail." I sat back, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. This wasn't just Chloe being a brat. This wasn't just Diane being dramatic. Someone was helping her. The editing, the timing, the specific language about narcissistic abuse that hit every algorithm keyword. The immediate pivot to a donation link. It is a project, I said. My humiliation is a project. Maya typed something into the spreadsheet. Exactly. And if it is a project, there is a paper trail. We just need to find it. We spent the next 3 hours in silence. The only sound the clicking of Maya's keyboard and the rain against the window. We saved every video. We took screenshots of the fake texts. We archived the comments where Chloe liked people calling for me to be fired. It gave me something to do. It turned the panic into data. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a clerk building a file. Around midnight, Maya rubbed her eyes. I have to head back, she said. I have an early shift. But Anna? Don't respond. That is what they want. They want you to look crazy. Silence is your best weapon right now. I nodded. I promise. Maya hugged me. A fierce, tight squeeze. We will fix this. It is just noise. She left, and the apartment fell silent again. I cleaned up the takeout containers. I watered my plants, trying to find a rhythm, a routine. There was a signature there. It was scrawled, shaky, but it looked like my name. Someone had already signed it for me. I stared at the glowing screen in the dark room, the viral video, the fake texts, the public shaming. It was all a smokescreen. Diane didn't just want me to sign the papers. She needed me to be distracted while someone else did. I looked at the message again. This is bigger than Instagram. I didn't reply. I took a screenshot of the message, then a screenshot of the photo. I saved them to the folder Maya had created. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. The paranoia was still there, but it felt different now. It wasn't the fear of being watched. It was the cold, sharp focus of a hunter who realizes they are in the woods with something much bigger than a wolf. I wasn't just fighting my sister. I was fighting a heist, and they had made one mistake. They thought I would just cry. The cafe was called The Daily Grind, a generic brick-walled spot in a strip mall halfway between Briar Glen and Maplehurst. It was neutral ground. I arrived 15 minutes early, sitting in a booth that faced the door. My back pressed against the vinyl seat. I felt like a spy in a bad movie. Except the stakes were not nuclear codes. They were my own name and dignity. I checked my phone. No new notifications from Instagram, because I had deleted the app 3 hours ago on Maya's orders, but the phantom itch was there. I kept wondering if Chloe had posted again. I wondered if she was live streaming her breakfast, crying over oatmeal about how I used to steal her toys. At 10 o'clock exactly, the door opened. I recognized the woman immediately, though I had not seen her face in 2 years. Lena Hart. She was small, with nervous hands that clutched an oversized tote bag. I remembered her from the few times I had gone to charity events with my mother. Lena was one of those perennial volunteers, women who wore sensible shoes and did the heavy lifting while the board members drank champagne. She spotted me and hurried over, looking over her shoulder as if she expected a SWAT team to burst in behind her. She slid into the booth opposite me. "Anna," she said, breathless. "Thank you for coming." She didn't take off her coat. "You messaged me." "Lena," I said, keeping my voice low. "You said this was bigger than Instagram. What does that mean?" Lena pulled a manila folder from her tote bag but didn't open it yet. She looked at me with eyes that were wide and rimmed with red, as if she hadn't slept. "I saw the video," she said, "the one your sister posted. I recognized the kitchen, but mostly, I recognized the script." "The script?" "The things your mother was saying," Lena said, "about family loyalty, about you abandoning her, about how she needed to protect the assets. That is not Diane talking. Anna, that is Grant." "Grant?" I asked. "Who is Grant?" "Grant Pell," Lena said. The name came out like a curse. I stared at her. The name meant nothing to me. "He is a community advisor," Lena continued, lowering her voice even further. "He started consulting for the Harbor Light Initiative about 6 months ago. That is the charity your mom volunteers for. The one that does housing assistance." I nodded. I knew Harbor Light. My mother had been involved with them for years. It was a small local nonprofit. They organized food drives and helped people with heating bills. Grant Pell came in to modernize them. Lena said, "He talks a lot about storytelling, about how if you want to get donors, you need a narrative, you need a victim and a hero." I felt a cold shiver crawl up my spine. A narrative. He has been spending a lot of time with Diane. Lena said, "And Chloe. I have seen them at the office. Chloe is always recording. Grant tells her how to frame things. He calls it impact architecture." I looked at the folder under her hand. "Why are you telling me this, Lena?" "Because I quit," she said. "I quit last week. I saw the books. Anna, the money isn't going to heating bills. It is going to consulting fees. It is going to Pell and Shore Advisory. And your mother, she is signing things." "What kind of things?" Lena opened the folder. She slid a single sheet of paper across the laminate table. It was a photocopy, slightly crooked, the text grainy. It was a draft of a power of attorney document. I scanned it. It was legal jargon, dense and boring. Until I hit the second paragraph. Granting Grant Pell, acting as fiscal agent for the Harbor Light Initiative, the authority to manage assets related to the Volunteer Surety Program. And below that, a section titled Supporting Guarantors. My name was there, Anna Wood, and next to it, a signature. It wasn't my signature. It was a loopier, softer version of my name. It looked like the way my mother wrote my name on birthday cards. I felt the blood drain from my face. "She forged it," I whispered. Lena shook her head. "I don't know if she forged it, or if she just practiced. But this was on Grant's desk. They are trying to leverage volunteer assets to secure a loan for the nonprofit. They need guarantors with clean credit histories. My credit history, the one I had spent 5 years rebuilding." I looked up at Lena. "Why would she do this? She is my mother." Lena looked sad. "Because Grant convinced her that you owe it to the cause, and that you would say no if she asked. So he gave her a way to do it without asking. He calls it implied consent. He told her she was protecting you from the burden of the decision. The burden of the decision. It was twisted logic. A funhouse mirror version of love." I took the paper. "I need to keep this." Lena nodded. "Take it, but be careful. Anna, Grant isn't just a consultant. He destroys people who ask questions. He calls it reputation management." I thought of the thousands of comments on Chloe's video. Reputation management. I stood up. I felt sick, but the sickness was hardening into something else. Rage. "Thank you, Lena." I left the cafe and walked to my car. The rain had started again, a cold drizzle that matched the gray fury in my chest. I didn't go back to Briar Glen. I turned the car east, toward Maplehurst. I was going to my mother's house. The drive took 40 minutes. I spent every minute of it rehearsing what I would say. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. I would walk in, demand the original documents, and leave. When I turned onto the street, I saw the white Jeep in the driveway. Chloe was home. I parked on the street, not in the driveway. I wanted a quick exit. I marched up the walk. The front lawn was covered in wet leaves. My father used to rake them every Sunday. Now they were a rotting mat of brown. I didn't knock. I used my key. The door swung open. The house was warm and smelled of cinnamon candles, a scent that now made me want to gag. "Mom!" I called out. Diane appeared from the kitchen. She looked startled. She was wearing a bathrobe, though it was noon on a Tuesday. Her hair was unwashed. "Anna," she said, "you can't just barge in here." I held up the photocopy Lena had given me. "What is this?" I asked, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. "Why is my name on a draft for a Harbor Light loan?" Diane's eyes flicked to the paper, then away. She crossed her arms, pulling the robe tighter. "I don't know what you are talking about. You are spying on me now? Is that it? You are stalking me?" "I am not stalking you. I met a friend who showed me this. You are trying to use my credit to secure a loan for that man." "Grant Pell." Diane's face hardened. "Grant is a friend," she said. "He is helping this family, which is more than I can say for you." "Helping?" I asked, stepping closer. "By telling Chloe to destroy my reputation? By forging my signature?" I didn't forge anything, Diane shouted. It was a draft. It was just a concept. Then show me the original, I said. Show me the papers you wanted me to sign on Saturday. Diane clamped her mouth shut. She looked like a petulant child. Get out of my house, she said. Suddenly, a light blinded me. I turned. Chloe was standing at the top of the stairs. She had the ring light attached to her phone case. She was filming. Look at this, guys. Chloe narrated, her voice a soft, sad whisper. She just broke into the house. She is screaming at Mom again. She is so unstable. I felt a surge of adrenaline so strong my hands shook. Put the phone down. Chloe? I yelled. Chloe didn't flinch. She descended the stairs, the camera tracking me. Why are you so angry? Anna? Why do you want to hurt us? It was a trap. Another trap. If I grabbed the phone, it was assault. If I yelled, it was verbal abuse. I looked at Diane. She was watching Chloe, not me. She looked relieved. Chloe was her shield. You are both sick, I said. I turned and walked out the door. Wait, Chloe called after me. Don't run away. We just want to talk. I slammed the door behind me. I practically ran to my car. As I fumbled for the ignition, I saw the curtain in the living room window move. The lens of a phone was pressed against the glass. I peeled away from the curb, my heart hammering. I had to get out of Maplehurst. The whole town felt infected. I was 5 miles down the road, waiting at a red light. When my phone pinged, it was a notification from my banking app. Transaction alert. $45 authorized at Maplehurst Pack and Ship. I stared at the screen. $45. It was a small amount, but I wasn't at the Pack and Ship. I was in my car. I pulled into a pharmacy parking lot and dialed the number on the back of my debit card. I need to dispute a charge. I told the operator. It just happened. While I was on hold, I used my other hand to Google the number for Maplehurst Pack and Ship. I hung up on the bank and called the store. Maplehurst Pack and Ship. This is Dave. Hi, Dave, I said, trying to sound calm. I just got a notification for a charge on my card at your store. My name is Anna Wood. Oh, hey Anna, Dave said. He sounded cheerful. Yeah, we just processed that. Your sister said to put it on the card on file. My sister? Yeah. Chloe. She came in to pick up the notarized copies. The world tilted. Notarized copies of what? Dave? I don't know. Just some legal docs. We have a notary on site. She brought in the originals. Got 3 certified copies made. She said you guys were settling an estate or something. She used the card number you gave her last time. I had never given Chloe my card number. Dave, I said, that was not authorized. That is fraud. There was a silence on the line. Look, lady. She had the card written down. She said you were on the phone with her. I don't want any trouble. I hung up. She had the originals. Diane had signed them. Or maybe someone else had signed them for me. And now Chloe had notarized copies. Certified copies. Which meant they could use them. They could access my credit. They could sign loans. They could do anything. I dialed the non-emergency line for the Maplehurst Police Department. The police station smelled of floor wax and stale coffee. I sat on a hard wooden bench for an hour before an officer called my name. Officer Miller. He looked like he was 12 years old, with a buzz cut and a uniform that looked too big for him. I sat at his desk and explained everything. The video, the forged signature, the charge at the shipping store, the identity theft. Officer Miller took notes on a yellow legal pad. He didn't look up often. So, let me get this straight, he said, chewing on the end of his pen. Your mother and sister are using your credit card? They used my debit card number without my permission, I corrected. And they are forging my signature on legal documents. Do you live with them? No, I live in Briar Glen. But you were at the house today? Yes, to confront them. And you gave your sister money in the past? Yes, for rent. But not this. Officer Miller sighed. He put the pen down. Look, Ms. Wood, this sounds like a civil matter. Civil? I asked. My voice rising. It is fraud. It is identity theft. It is family, he said, with a shrug that made me want to scream. You have a history of sharing finances. It is hard to prove intent to defraud when you have been helping them out for years. And the signature. Unless you have a handwriting expert, it is your word against theirs. But the video, I said, they are destroying my reputation to cover it up. Being mean on the internet isn't a crime. The officer said, if we arrested everyone who posted a mean video, the jails would be full by lunch. He tore the top sheet off the legal pad and handed it to me. Here is your report number. You can take this to the bank to dispute the $45. But honestly, you guys should probably just go to family therapy. I took the paper. I felt small. I felt invisible. To him, I was just a hysterical woman complaining about her mother. He didn't see the machine. He didn't see Grant Pell. He didn't see the trap closing around my neck. I walked out of the station. The rain had stopped, but the air was thick and cold. I felt a profound sense of isolation. The law wasn't going to help me. The truth wasn't going to help me. I was on my own. I drove back to Briar Glen in a daze. When I got to my apartment, Maya was waiting in the lobby. She wasn't alone. Standing next to her was a man who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He wore a rumpled gray suit and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He was holding a venti coffee cup like it was a lifeline. Anna, Maya said, this is Elliot, my cousin, the lawyer. I said. Elliot Crane smiled. It was a tired, crooked smile. The lawyer? He agreed. Or the guy who spends way too much time reading terms of service agreements. Let's go upstairs. We sat at my kitchen table. Elliot didn't look like a high-powered attorney. He looked like a librarian who had seen too much. He listened to my story without interrupting. He looked at the screenshots Maya had saved. He looked at the blurry photo of the document Lena had given me. When I finished, he took a long sip of coffee. Okay, he said. First things first. You need to freeze everything, not just your credit. Call check systems. Lock down your bank accounts. Put a fraud alert on your social security number. Do it tonight. I will. I said. Second, he said, do not contact Chloe. Do not contact Diane. Do not go to the house. But they have the papers, I said. And if you go back there, Elliot said, pointing a finger at me, they will have another video, and that video will show you screaming, banging on the door, looking like a threat, and then they will get a restraining order against you. And once they have a restraining order, the narrative is sealed. You become the dangerous stalker legally. I slumped in my chair. He was right. So what do I do? Just let them lie? Elliot took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. You have to understand the economy of attention. Anna, right now, you are trending. That means the algorithm is hungry for you. Every time Chloe posts, she gets a dopamine hit and a financial hit from that tip jar. If you respond, you feed the beast. You give her content to react to. You create a war. And the internet loves a war. So I stay silent? For now, Elliot said. Silence starves the fire. People get bored fast. In 2 weeks, the internet will be mad at a weatherman who kicked a puppy or a celebrity who wore the wrong dress. The heat will die down. And then, Elliot said, his eyes sharpening, we strike, but not on Instagram. We strike with paper. We build a case for fraud, for defamation, for tortious interference with your employment. But we need proof, real proof, not just a blurry photo. He tapped the table. We need to know where the money is going. Why do they need your signature so badly? If this Grant Pell guy is involved, there is a bigger play. I thought about the document, the trust, my dad. I said, Elliot looked at me. Your dad? My father died 4 years ago. I said, there was a life insurance policy, not huge, maybe $50,000. Diane said it was all used for the funeral and paying off his truck. But that document Lena showed me, it referenced the William Wood Memorial Trust. Elliot sat up straighter. A trust? I never saw a trust document. I said, I just assumed everything went to Mom. If there is a trust, Elliot said, his voice dropping to a murmur, then there are beneficiaries. And if you are a beneficiary, you have a right to see the ledger. He pulled a notepad out of his pocket. Who handled your father's estate? I closed my eyes. trying to remember the blur of grief from 4 years ago. I remembered a logo on a letterhead I had seen on the dining room table. A tree, Redwood. I said, Redwood Fiduciary Services. Elliot wrote it down. Okay, he said. I will look into Redwood. In the meantime, you go dark. No posting, no texting. If they call, let it go to voicemail. He stood up and put a hand on my shoulder. I know it feels like the world is ending, Anna, but it isn't. It is just the internet. And the internet is stupid. We are going to be smart. After they left, I followed Elliot's instructions. I spent 2 hours on the phone with credit bureaus, answering security questions, locking down my identity. It was chaos, unglamorous work. It felt nothing like the high-drama revenge movies I used to watch. It felt like doing taxes while your house was burning down. When I was done, I felt a strange sense of calm. I had built a wall. It was invisible, but it was there. I went into my bedroom and pulled a plastic bin from the top of my closet. It was labeled Dad. Inside were the things I couldn't bear to throw away. His old watch, a pipe he never smoked but liked to hold, and a stack of papers I had scooped up from his desk the week after the funeral, thinking I would help Mom organize them. I never had. I sat on the floor and started sorting. Old utility bills, a receipt for tires, a warranty for a lawnmower, and then, near the bottom, a single envelope. It was unopened. It was addressed to William Wood. The return address was Redwood Fiduciary Services. The postmark was dated 3 weeks before he died. I tore it open. It was a statement. Account summary. The William Wood Family Trust. Current value, $185,000. I stared at the number. $185,000. It wasn't $50,000. It was nearly 4 times that. And below the balance, the beneficiary designation. Primary beneficiary, Diane Wood, 50%. Secondary beneficiary, Chloe Wood, 25%. Secondary beneficiary, Anna Wood, 25%. I did the math in my head. 25% of $185,000. That was over $46,000. Money that could have paid off my debts. Money that could have bought me a house. Money that I didn't know existed. I looked at the date again. 4 years ago. Where was the money now? I remembered the conversation in the kitchen. We need to restructure. Grant is helping. They weren't just trying to get a loan for the charity. They were trying to move this money. Or maybe the money was already gone, and they needed my signature to cover the tracks. I thought about Diane's face when she asked me to sign the papers. Do you trust your mother? It wasn't about loyalty. It had never been about loyalty. It was about theft. I took a picture of the statement. I sent it to Elliot. Then I walked to the window and looked out at the dark street. Chloe wanted a story. She wanted a villain. She had no idea what she had just started. I wasn't the villain. I was the auditor. And I was coming for every single cent. The offices of Redwood Fiduciary Services were located in a glass-paneled building on the outskirts of Maplehurst, the kind of place that smelled of carpet cleaner and quiet money. I sat in a leather chair that was too low to be comfortable, clutching my handbag like a shield. Across the mahogany desk sat Mr. Sterling, a man whose face was as smooth and blank as a fresh sheet of paper. He adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and looked at the death certificate I had placed on the desk, then at my driver's license. Ms. Wood, he said, his voice a dry rustle. We were not expecting you in person. I didn't make an appointment, I admitted, but I am a beneficiary of the William Wood Memorial Trust. I have the right to see the documentation. Mr. Sterling pursed his lips. He tapped a few keys on his computer. We usually handle these inquiries via the portal, he said, or through the primary trustee, your mother. My mother is not communicating with me right now, I said, keeping my voice steady, and I have reason to believe there has been activity on the account that I did not authorize. Mr. Sterling stopped typing. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time. Activity? He repeated. I pulled up the photo of the statement on my phone, the one I had found in my father's box. The trust was established 4 years ago. I never signed a waiver. I never received a distribution. I want to know the current balance. And I want to know if there have been any withdrawal requests, mister? Sterling sighed, a sound of professional annoyance. He clicked his mouse a few times, his eyes scanning the screen. Then, his brows knit together. Well, this is confusing, he muttered. What is? You are asking for the status, he said, looking back at me. But you, or rather, someone identifying themselves as Anna Wood, emailed us 3 days ago regarding an accelerated distribution. The air in the room seemed to vanish. My lungs felt suddenly tight. 3 days ago, I asked? Yes. Tuesday. The email requested the necessary forms to liquidate your portion of the trust immediately. Citing, he squinted at the screen. Financial hardship due to a family crisis. I gripped the arms of the chair. Mr. Sterling, I said, I did not send that email. He turned the monitor slightly so I could see. From anna.wood.design@gmail.com. I stared at the address. It looked right at first glance. My email was anna.wood.designs@gmail.com, plural, designs. This one was singular, design, 1 letter. That was all it took. That is not me, I said, pointing at the screen. That is missing an S. Someone created that account to impersonate me. Mr. Sterling pulled the monitor back. His face had closed off again. Miss Wood. Without proof of identity theft, I cannot discuss the details of the inquiry further. However, I can tell you that no funds have been released yet. The request is pending notarized approval. Notarized approval. I thought of the charge at the pack and ship. Chloe getting 3 certified copies of legal docs. They are trying to cash me out. I realized they are trying to take my 25%, forge my signature on the release, and have the money sent to an account they control. Freeze it, I said. Excuse me? Freeze the trust. I am formally contesting the distribution. If you release 1 cent to that email address, I will sue this firm for negligence so fast your head will spin. Mister? Sterling blinked. The threat worked. In his world, lawsuits were the only language that mattered. I will place a temporary hold on the account, he said stiffly, but you will need to provide a police report and an affidavit of identity within 48 hours, or the primary trustee can override the hold. I will get you the report, I said. Standing up, I walked out of the office with my knees shaking. It was not just a smear campaign. It was a bank robbery in slow motion. I sat in my car in the parking lot, trying to catch my breath. I needed to call Elliot. I needed to update the file. But before I could dial, my phone buzzed with a Google alert. Maya had set them up for my name. New video. At Truth About Anna W. posted a video. I shouldn't have watched it. Elliot had told me not to watch it. Starve the beast, he had said. But the beast was eating my life, and I couldn't look away. I opened the link. Chloe was sitting on the floor of her bedroom. My old bedroom. She was wearing a baggy t-shirt and no makeup. Her hair was messy. She looked young, vulnerable, and completely broken. I didn't want to do this, she whispered to the camera, wiping her nose with her sleeve. But the hate I am getting. People saying I am lying. It is just too much. She took a shaky breath. My sister, Anna. She has always been the golden child. She has a degree. She has a big corporate job. But behind closed doors, she bullied me for years. She used to tell me I was stupid. She used to tell me Mom only loved me out of pity. Lies. All lies. I had helped her with her homework. I had proofread her college essays. And now, Chloe continued, a tear spilling over her cheek. Now that Mom is struggling, Anna is trying to take the house. She is trying to force Mom to sell it so she can get her share of the inheritance early. She doesn't care if Mom ends up on the street. She just wants the money. I dropped the phone. Steal the house? It was a masterstroke of manipulation. They were projecting their own crime onto me. They were trying to access the trust early. They were the ones obsessed with the money. But by accusing me of it first, they inoculated the audience. If I came forward now and talked about the trust, I would look like I was confirming Chloe's story, that I was greedy, that I was coming for the cash. I felt a scream building in my throat. a primal sound of frustration that wanted to tear through the roof of the car. Then my phone rang. It wasn't Elliot. It was Westbridge Claims Group. I answered, my voice tight. Hello? Anna, it is Gary. Gary. My boss. It was 11 in the morning on a Thursday. Hi, Gary. I am taking the personal days you asked for. I know. Anna. Listen. He paused. In the background, I could hear the hum of the office. Phones ringing. Keyboards clacking. The sounds of a world I used to belong to. We had a meeting with legal this morning, Gary said. And HR. My stomach dropped. And? The volume of traffic coming into the company servers regarding you is unprecedented, Gary said. We are getting bot attacks on our reviews page. People are calling the claims line and screaming at operators. It is disrupting business. Anna, Gary, I can't control what strangers do on the internet. I know that. But Westbridge has a clause in your contract regarding reputational conflict. We can't have a claims adjuster who is publicly accused of fraud and elder abuse. Even if it isn't proven, it compromises our credibility in court. So what are you saying? We are placing you on unpaid administrative leave. Indefinitely. Until this is resolved. Unpaid? Gary, I have rent. I have bills. I am sorry. Anna, if it were up to me. But it is not. You need to clear your name. Once there is a legal retraction or a court order, we can discuss reinstatement. But for now, please do not log into the system. The line clicked dead. I sat there, staring at the dashboard, unemployed. In 4 days, I had lost my family, my reputation, and now my livelihood. The internet hadn't just embarrassed me, it had erased me. I was radioactive. I drove home in silence. The world outside the window looked the same. People walking dogs, delivery trucks making rounds. But it felt like a simulation I was no longer part of. When I got to my apartment, Maya was already there. She had let herself in with the spare key. She was standing at the wall of my living room, which now looked like a detective's murder board. She had taped up printouts of screenshots, timestamps, the photo of the trust document. She turned when I walked in. She saw my face. They fired you? She asked. Administrative leave, I said, dropping my keys on the table. Unpaid, which is basically firing me without having to pay severance. Maya swore. A sharp, ugly word. I am sorry. Anna, it is okay, I said. Though it wasn't. It clarifies things. I walked over to the wall. I looked at the timeline Maya had built. November 12th. Diane texts Anna. We need to talk. November 14th. The confrontation. November 14th. Evening. First video posted. November 15th. The context. Screenshots. Posted. November 16th. Donations to Harbor Light Spike. November 17th. Imposter Anna emails Redwood. It is a machine. I said, tracing the line with my finger. It is not just revenge. It is a heist. They needed to destroy my credibility so that if I complained about the money, nobody would believe me. Elliot walked out of my kitchen, holding a mug of tea. Exactly, he said. And I found the engine. He placed a stack of papers on the coffee table. I did a deep dive on the Harbor Light Initiative. He said, it is a 501c3, tax exempt, but look at their Form 990 filings for the last 2 years. He pointed to a line item. Consulting fees. $120,000. Paid to whom? I asked. Pell and Shore Advisory. Elliot said. Grant Pell. I said, right. But here's the kicker. Pell and Shore isn't just a consulting firm. I pulled their articles of incorporation in Delaware. The registered agent is a generic service. But the managing member is listed as G. Pell. And the address for Pell and Shore? He flipped the page. It is the same suite number as a property management company that owns the building where Harbor Light operates. He is paying himself rent, and he is paying himself consulting fees out of the charity's donations. So he is draining the charity. I said, he is skimming. Elliot corrected. Just enough to stay under the radar of the IRS, provided nobody looks too closely. But he needs fresh capital. The charity's donations were drying up. He needed a new story to drive engagement, and he found one. I said, "The poor mother abandoned by her cruel daughter." "Storytelling has impact," Maya said, quoting the website. "And my mother?" I asked. "Where does she fit in?" Elliot looked grim. I checked public records on her house. "There is a lien on it. Anna, recorded 3 months ago, a private lender, high interest. She took out a loan? She is drowning. Anna, I think Pell promised her a way out. He probably told her that if she followed his script, the donations from the viral story would pay off the house and set Chloe up for life. But to get the bridge loan, he needed collateral, the trust," I whispered. He needed the $185,000 in the trust to cover the gap while the donations rolled in. But he couldn't get it without your signature, so they staged the fight. I said, "They staged the fight to pressure me, and when I ran, they forged the signature and launched the smear campaign to keep me busy while they cashed the check. It was diabolical, and it was brilliant." I stared at the wall. My sadness was gone. The grief I had felt for the loss of my mother, the confusion about my sister, it had all evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. "They are holding a gala tonight," I said. Maya looked at me. "What?" "The Harbor Light Initiative." I said, "I saw the flyer on their Facebook page before I blocked it. The Winter Beacon Gala. It is tonight at the Maplehurst Country Club. Tickets are $200. Anna, you can't go there." Elliot said warningly, "It is a hornet's nest. I'm not going to make a scene." "Elliot, I am going to watch. I want to see him. I want to see the man who turned my life into a content farm." "And Diane?" Maya asked. "I need to look her in the eye." I said, "I need to know if she knows she is being robbed, or if she is holding the gun." The Maplehurst Country Club was a relic of the 1990s. All brass railings and heavy drapes. I wore a simple black dress I had bought for a funeral 2 years ago. I pulled my hair back tight. I wore glasses I didn't need, hoping they would change the shape of my face enough to confuse a casual observer. I didn't buy a ticket. I walked in through the catering entrance, carrying a clipboard I had taken from my car. No one stopped me. The staff assumed I was managing something. People always assumed I was managing something. I slipped into the back of the ballroom. It was crowded. There were round tables with white linens, centerpieces made of winter branches and fairy lights. The air smelled of roast chicken and expensive, cloying perfume. On the stage, a man was speaking. He was tall, with silver hair that was perfectly coiffed and a suit that cost more than my car. He had a microphone in one hand, and he was leaning forward, intimate, as if he were sharing a secret with the room. Grant Pell. "We don't just give handouts," Grant was saying, his voice smooth and baritone. "We give hope. We rebuild the narratives of the broken, because every family deserves a second act." The room applauded. Polite, wealthy applause. I scanned the head table. There she was, Diane. She was wearing a blue sequined dress I had never seen. Her hair was done up in a stiff, spray-heavy style. She was smiling, but it was a rictus grin. Tight and terrified. She wasn't eating. Her hands were gripping her napkin in her lap. She didn't look like a villain. She looked like a hostage. I moved along the perimeter of the room, sticking to the shadows. I saw Chloe. She was not at the table. She was moving through the crowd, phone in hand, filming content for the stories. Look at this centerpiece. So grateful for this community. She looked radiant, feeding on the attention like a vampire. Grant finished his speech. "And now, please enjoy dessert. And remember, your generosity tonight writes the next chapter." The lights came up slightly. I watched Diane stand up. She looked unsteady. She walked toward the side exit, toward the restrooms. I followed. The hallway was lined with portraits of past club presidents, old white men staring down judgmentally. It was empty. Diane pushed open the door to the ladies' room, but I caught it before it closed. "Mom," she spun around. Her face went pale beneath the heavy foundation. "Anna?" she hissed. "What are you doing here? You can't be here. If Grant sees you—" "I don't care about Grant," I said, stepping closer. "I went to Redwood today. Mom, I know about the trust. I know about the email. Diane flinched. She backed up against the marble sink counter. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop it, I said, my voice low but intense. Stop lying to me. You are trying to steal the money Dad left for us. You and that con artist out there. Diane's eyes filled with sudden tears. Her hands shook. It is not stealing, she whispered. It is leverage. We just need it for a few months. Until the program scales up. Grant promised. Grant promised? I repeated. Mom, he is draining the charity. He has a lien on your house. He is using you. He is fixing it. Diane cried out, though she kept her voice to a whisper. You don't understand. Anna, I was in trouble. After your father died, there were debts. I didn't want to tell you. I wanted to handle it. Grant said he could make it all go away. He said we just needed a story to get people to care. So you made me the villain? I asked. You destroyed my life to pay off a debt? I didn't think it would go this far, Diane pleaded. She reached out a hand. But I pulled back. Chloe said it would just be a little internet drama. She said you wouldn't even notice. We just needed a reason for the accelerated distribution. To show hardship. I stared at her. The banality of evil. They didn't hate me. They just needed a plot point. You have to stop it. I said, you have to tell the truth. I can't. Diane sobbed softly. He has papers, Anna. I signed things. If I back out now, I lose the house. I lose everything. Please, just go. Don't make it worse. I looked at my mother. I saw the fear in her eyes, the terrified, paralyzing fear of a woman who had dug a hole so deep she could no longer see the sky. I heard a soft scuff of a shoe on carpet. I looked past Diane, through the crack of the bathroom door into the hallway. Chloe was there. She was standing 20 feet away, near a potted ficus. She wasn't coming to save Mom. She wasn't yelling. She was holding her phone at waist level. The lens pointed right at us. Her face was illuminated by the screen's glow. She didn't look angry. She looked hungry. She was waiting for me to scream. She was waiting for me to grab Diane. She needed the climax for her next reel. I froze. If I yelled now, Chloe would have the footage. Violent daughter corners terrified mother in bathroom at charity gala. It would be the end of me. I looked at Diane. You are on your own, I said coldly. I turned and walked out of the restroom. I walked straight past Chloe. I didn't look at the phone. I didn't look at her face. I walked with a dead, steady stare, right past the lens. Chloe looked disappointed. She lowered the phone slightly as I passed. Run away. Anna, she whispered, it is what you are good at. I kept walking. I walked through the lobby, past the coat check, and out into the cold night air. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. I reached into my coat pocket to find my car keys. My fingers brushed against paper. A thick, heavy envelope. I stopped. I hadn't put an envelope in my pocket. I pulled it out. It was a plain white business envelope. Sealed. I looked around the parking lot. Valets were parking cars. Guests were arriving. No one was looking at me. Who had put this there? I had bumped into a few people in the ballroom. A waiter? A guest? Lena Hart? I got into my car and locked the doors. I turned on the dome light. I tore the envelope open. Inside was a single document. It was a photocopy of a consent to distribute trust assets. It was signed by Diane Wood, and next to the line for secondary beneficiary consent, my name was typed, Anna Wood, but it wasn't signed yet. I looked at the date stamp on the notary seal at the bottom of the page. November 10th. I stared at the date. November 10th. That was 4 days before I drove to Maplehurst. 4 days before the confrontation in the kitchen. They had drawn up the papers to cut me out of the trust before they even asked me to sign the lease. The fight about the apartment, the argument about loyalty, it was all theater. They had already notarized Diane's portion of the theft on November 10th. They just needed to provoke me into a reaction they could use to justify forging my signature later. It was premeditated, every second of it. I flipped the paper over. On the back, handwritten in blue ink, was a note. He keeps the originals in the safe at the Pell Shore office. The code is 1985. There was no signature. I looked at the handwriting. It was jagged, rushed. I didn't know who wrote it. Maybe Lena. Maybe a disgruntled secretary. Maybe someone else Grant Pell had destroyed. But it didn't matter. I had the timeline. I had the motive. And now, I had the date that proved the conspiracy started before I even walked through the door. I put the car in gear. I wasn't going to hide anymore. I wasn't going to wait for the internet to get bored. They wanted a story? I was going to write them an ending they would never forget. The kitchen table in my apartment had ceased to be a place for eating. It was now a command center. Papers were taped to the surface, covering the cheap laminate, bank statements, the timeline Maya had built, and the photocopy of the consent form I had found in my coat pocket at the gala. Elliot stood over the table, his tie loosened, a cold cup of coffee in his hand. He tapped the photocopy with his index finger. "This is the keystone," he said. I looked at the date stamp again. November 10th. "It proves premeditation," I said. "They drafted this 4 days before I even arrived in Maplehurst." "It proves more than that," Elliot corrected. "It explains the narrative. Why did they paint you as the villain? Why abandonment? Why emotional abuse? Because it gets views?" I asked. "No," Elliot said. "Views are just the bonus. The goal was legal positioning. Look at the language in the trust bylaws." He slid a dense document from the redwood fiduciary file toward me. He had highlighted a paragraph on page 12. In the event a beneficiary is deemed incapacitated, hostile to the estate, or unreachable for a period of 90 days, the primary trustee may petition for emergency administrative control to protect the assets. Hostile to the estate. I read aloud. "Exactly," Elliot said. "If you are just a daughter who refuses to sign a loan, you are an obstacle. But if you are abusive, unstable, and estranged, then Diane can go to a judge. She can argue that your refusal to sign isn't a rational financial decision, but an act of malice from a disturbed individual. She can ask the court to bypass your signature to protect the family assets." I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach. "So the video wasn't just for money," I said. "It was evidence. It was Exhibit A," Elliot said grimly. "If they file a petition to remove you as a beneficiary, they will submit that video. They will submit the comments. They will say, 'Look, even the public sees how dangerous she is.' They are building a case to legally erase you so they can liquidate the trust without your permission." I stared at the paper. It was brilliant, in a sick, twisted way. Grant Pell had weaponized my own humiliation to rob me, but they made a mistake. I said, looking at the unsigned line on the photocopy, "They didn't count on me finding this, and they didn't count on me freezing the credit." "No," Elliot agreed. "They expected you to hide. They expected you to crumble." I stood up and walked to the window. The fear that had paralyzed me for days was gone. It had been replaced by a cold, sharp determination. I felt like a surgeon looking at a tumor. I didn't hate the tumor. I just wanted to cut it out. "I need to talk to Chloe," I said. Elliot frowned. "Anna, I told you, no contact. I am not going to fight with her." "Elliot, and I am not going to the house. I need to look her in the face. I need to know if she understands what she is doing, or if she is just a puppet. She is a puppet with a smartphone and 100,000 followers." Elliot warned. "She is dangerous." "I know," I said, "but she is also my sister. And if I am going to burn this whole thing down, I need to give her one chance to get out of the building." I sent the text from a burner number Elliot had set up for me. "Meet me at the Galaxy Diner in Larkspur Junction. 1 hour. Come alone. If you bring a camera, I leave." I didn't know if she would come. Larkspur Junction was 20 minutes from Maplehurst, a forgotten town of rusted train tracks and closed factories. The Galaxy Diner was the kind of place where truck drivers ate pie at 3 p.m, and nobody cared who you were. I arrived first. I took a booth in the back corner, away from the windows. I ordered a black coffee and waited. At 2:00, the bell above the door chimed. Chloe walked in. She looked out of place. She was wearing oversized sunglasses, a beige trench coat that was cinched too tight, and heels that clicked loudly on the linoleum. She clutched her purse to her chest. She scanned the room, saw me, and hesitated. Then she walked over and slid into the booth opposite me. She didn't take off the sunglasses. "You look tired," she said. It was her opening move. A jab. "I am tired," I said calmly. "Take off the glasses." "Chloe." She kept them on. "I can't stay long. I have a brand meeting at 4. "A brand meeting," I repeated. "You mean you have a call with Grant Pell?" Chloe flinched. The name hit her like a physical slap. She adjusted her coat, looking everywhere but at me. "I don't know why you are so obsessed with him. He is a business consultant. He is helping Mom with the nonprofit. He is stealing from the nonprofit. Chloe, and he is stealing from us." Chloe let out a scoff, a harsh sound that lacked her usual bubbly charm. "You are so paranoid, Anna. You always have been. You think everyone is out to get you. Maybe that is why you are alone." I leaned forward, clasping my hands on the table. "I know about the trust." "Chloe." She went still. "I went to Redwood Fiduciary." I continued, keeping my voice low and even. "I saw the balance. $185,000. And I saw the email you sent pretending to be me, asking for an accelerated distribution." Chloe's mouth opened slightly, then snapped shut. "I didn't send any email. You are lying. The IP address will trace back to the house. Chloe, it is fraud. It is a federal crime. It is Mom's money," she hissed, her voice rising. "It was Dad's money, which means it is Mom's money. She needs it. Anna, she is drowning. So you admit you tried to access it?" "I didn't admit anything." She looked around the diner, checking if anyone was watching. Nobody was. "Listen to me," I said. "Grant Pell is using you. He set this whole thing up. The fight, the video, the abandonment. He needed a way to bypass my signature so he could get that money. And do you know where that money is going to go? It isn't going to pay off Mom's house. It is going to Pell and Shore Advisory for consulting fees." Chloe shook her head violently. "He is saving the house. He got the lender to hold off on foreclosure by taking out another loan." I said, "I saw the lien." "Chloe, a private lender connected to Pell. He is stripping the equity. When the money runs out, he will take the house, and he will leave you and Mom with nothing but a ruined reputation." "You are jealous," Chloe said. Her voice was trembling. "You are jealous because Grant thinks I have talent. He says I have a voice. He says I am going to be a star. You are a shield. Chloe, you are the distraction." "I am not," she shouted. A waitress looked over at us. Chloe lowered her voice, leaning in. "You can't stop it. Anna, it is already done. The internet hates you. You are fired. You are nobody. I froze my credit." "Chloe." She paused. "What?" "I froze my credit files, and I put a fraud alert on the trust. Redwood isn't releasing a dime." Chloe froze, behind the dark lenses. I could feel her panic. "You can't do that." I did, and I filed a police report for identity theft regarding the notarized documents you picked up. Chloe laughed. It was a nervous, brittle sound. "Good luck with that. You have no proof. It is just your word against ours." "I have the photocopy." "Chloe, the one from the gala." "A photocopy isn't evidence," she snapped. "You can't prove anything without the originals." The words hung in the air between us. "You can't prove anything without the originals." She had just admitted the originals existed. She had just admitted that there were signed, forged documents somewhere, and that she knew where they were. I looked at her. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" she asked, confused. "For confirming they exist?" Chloe's face drained of color. She realized what she had said. She scrambled to recover. "I didn't mean. I just meant, if there were originals, which there aren't." She grabbed her purse and slid out of the booth. "You are crazy. Anna, stay away from us. If you come near the house again, Mom will call the cops." She turned and marched out of the diner, her heels clicking fast, like a soldier retreating from a lost battle. I watched her go. I felt a pang of sadness. She was 29 years old, but she was still a child playing dress-up in a burning house. She honestly believed she was the hero of the story. I took out my phone and texted Elliot. She knows about the originals, and she is scared. I drove back to Briar Glen. Maya was waiting for me in the parking lot of my building. She looked excited. "Get in," she said, gesturing to her car. "Where are we going?" "We are going to meet a ghost," she said. She drove us to a small, cluttered house on the edge of town. The front yard was filled with ceramic gnomes and overgrown ivy. Ruth Calder used to handle the bookkeeping for the Harbor Light Initiative. Maya explained as we walked up the path. She quit 3 months ago. I found her on LinkedIn. She didn't want to talk at first, but when I mentioned Grant Pell, she couldn't stop. The door was opened by a woman in her 60s with gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. She looked at me with sharp, intelligent eyes. "You are the daughter," she said. "The one in the video." "I am," I said. "You look different in real life," she observed. "Less demonic. Come in." We sat in her living room, which smelled of cats and peppermint tea. Ruth Calder poured us cups and sat in a rocking chair. "I worked at Harbor Light for 10 years. Ruth said, "It was a good place. We helped people. We kept the lights on for families in winter." Then Diane brought him in, Grant Pell. I said, "Mr. Narrative," Ruth said with a sneer. He came in with his shiny suits and his buzzwords. Impact architecture. Leveraged storytelling. He told the board that charity was dead and that we needed to sell emotional journeys. And Diane listened. Diane was vulnerable. Ruth said she was lonely and she was broke. I saw the notices on her desk. She was behind on her mortgage. Grant told her he could fix everything. He told her that if she let him run the books, he could double the donations. And did he? "Oh, the money came in," Ruth said, "but it went right out the back door. He set up this consulting firm, Pell and Shore. He started charging the charity $5,000 a month for strategy, then $10,000, then $15,000. "Why didn't you stop him?" I asked. "I tried," Ruth said. "I went to the board, but half the board is in his pocket. And then, things started happening." "What things?" "I got an email from HR saying I had been flagged for creating a hostile work environment. There were complaints in my file I had never seen. Then someone posted a review on our Google page saying I had been rude to a client. It was all fake." Grant called me into his office and said, "Ruth, it seems like the community is losing trust in you. Maybe it is time to move on." "He smeared you." I said, "He manages reputations." Ruth said, "That is his weapon. If you ask questions, he paints you as the problem. He isolates you. He makes you look crazy so that nobody listens to the truth." I looked at Maya. It was the exact same playbook. "Ruth," I said, "we are going to go public. We have evidence of the fraud. Would you be willing to speak to a journalist?" Ruth looked at her tea. She traced the rim of the cup with her finger. "I am retired," she said. "I just want peace. He is destroying my family. Ruth, and he is robbing the people Harbor Light is supposed to help." Ruth looked up. Her eyes were hard. "He is a vampire," she said. "Is that a yes?" Maya asked. Ruth nodded once. "If you can take him down, I will talk. But you better not miss, because he doesn't fight fair." We didn't miss. That night, I sat with Elliot and looked at the property records again. We had found the connection. The private lender who held the lien on my mother's house was a company called Apex Bridge Capital. It sounded legitimate, but Elliot had dug into the state filings. Apex Bridge Capital lists its business address as a P.O. box in Delaware. Elliot said, "But the registered agent for service of process?" He pointed to a name on the screen, Shoreline Legal Services. And Shoreline Legal Services shares an office suite with Pell and Shore Advisory. I finished, "It is a circle," Elliot said. "Grant Pell lends your mother money through Apex at a high interest rate. He uses the house as collateral. Then he pays himself consulting fees from the charity, which your mother runs, and now he is trying to use your trust fund to pay off the interest on the loan he gave her. He is paying himself with our money." I said, "He is stripping the carcass," Elliot said. "And Diane is so deep in debt she can't see the exit. She thinks he is her savior. but he is her executioner. I felt a surge of pity for my mother. She wasn't just a villain. She was a fly caught in a web so complex she didn't even know she was being eaten. But pity wouldn't save her. Only the truth would. The next morning, the escalation happened. I woke up to a frantic text from Maya. "Don't look at IG. Just come over." I looked at IG. Chloe had posted a photo. It was a screenshot of a police report, but it wasn't the one I had filed. The image was blurry, but the text was legible. Incident report. Domestic disturbance. Suspect. Anna Wood. Details. Suspect was seen banging on the door of the victim's residence, screaming threats. Suspect appeared intoxicated and violent. The caption read, "I tried to protect her. I really did. But she came back to the house yesterday. We had to call the police. I am so scared. She needs help, not judgment. Hashtag mental health. Hashtag stalker." I stared at the screen. I hadn't gone to the house yesterday. I had been at the diner, and the police report. I zoomed in. The report number was 000-0000. It was a template, a stock image. She had filled it in with Photoshop. I scrolled to the comments. User 99. Lock her up. Be kind 22. This is terrifying. You need a restraining order. Safety first. Why isn't she in jail? But then, I saw something else. True crime junkie. Wait, look at the report number. It's all zeros. Legal Eagle. That form is from California. Look at the code at the top. They are in Pennsylvania. Susie Q. Why is the font different on the name? This looks photoshopped. The cracks were appearing. Chloe had gone too far. She was so desperate to feed the algorithm that she had gotten sloppy. I grabbed my folder. The folder with the timeline, the trust documents, the Pell and Shore connection, the screenshots of the fake texts, and now, the fake police report. I called Maya. "I am ready." I said, "Ready for what?" "The press." The offices of the Briar Glen Ledger were located in a brick building downtown that had seen better days. It wasn't the New York Times. It was a local paper that covered high school football and town council meetings. But it was real. Nora Dempsey was the senior reporter. She was a woman in her 50s who wore flannel shirts and looked like she smoked a pack a day. Even though she didn't, she met me in a glass-walled conference room. She didn't smile. "You are the Instagram girl," she said, "the one who shoved her mom." "I didn't shove my mom," I said, placing the folder on the table. "And I am not here to tell you my side of the story. I don't care about the drama." "Then why are you here?" Nora asked, leaning back in her chair. "Because there is a local charity being embezzled by a consultant who is also predatory lending to the board members," I said, "and they are using a viral smear campaign to cover up the transfer of assets." Nora stopped leaning back. She looked at the folder. "Keep talking." I walked her through it, step by step. No tears. No, my sister is mean. Just math. I showed her the Harbor Light tax filings. I showed her the Pell and Shore connection. I showed her the lien on my mother's house. I showed her the trust document and the identity theft report. And finally, I showed her the fake police report Chloe had posted that morning. "She faked a police report?" Nora asked, looking at the screenshot. "Yes, and here is the timestamp of me at a diner 20 miles away at the time she claims I was banging on her door." I showed her the receipt from the Galaxy Diner. Nora whistled low. "That is stupid," she said. "It is desperate." I said, "They need the narrative to hold until they can get the money released." Nora lit a pen, clicking it rhythmically. "If I run this," she said, "they will come for you. Not just on Instagram. They will sue you. They will threaten the paper. Grant Pell is litigious. I have heard his name before. I know." I said, "I am ready." "And the backlash?" Nora asked. "People don't like it when their villains turn out to be victims. It makes them feel guilty. They might hate you even more for proving them wrong. I don't care if they like me." "Nora, I just want the record corrected." Nora looked at me for a long moment. She saw the exhaustion in my face, but she also saw the steel. She opened the folder. "I need to make some calls," she said. "I need to verify the filings. I need to call Ruth Calder." She is expecting your call. I said. Nora nodded. Okay, give me 24 hours. The next 24 hours were the longest of my life. I sat in my apartment, watching the view count on Chloe's fake police report video tick up. 100,000, 200,000. People were making TikToks about me. Analyzing the psychology of Anna Wood. Why sisters kill? It was a circus of speculation. I wanted to scream. I wanted to reply. But I sat on my hands. Starved the beast. Thursday morning, 7 a.m. I refreshed the website of the Briar Glen Ledger. There it was. The headline wasn't sensational. It was boring. It was factual. Questions raised regarding financial management at Harbor Light Initiative by Nora Dempsey. A Ledger investigation has uncovered irregularities in the financial reporting of local nonprofit, the Harbor Light Initiative, including over $120,000 in consulting fees paid to firms connected to its current advisory board. Documents reviewed by the Ledger also suggest a pattern of identity theft and coercion involving family members of the board. I clicked the article. It was all there. The shell companies, the liens, the fake narratives. Nora had quoted Ruth Calder, anonymously. She had quoted the police spokesperson confirming that no report matching Chloe's post existed in their system. She didn't paint me as a saint. She simply stated that claims made on social media regarding Anna Wood appear to contradict verifiable legal and financial records. I scrolled to the bottom. There were no comments on the article itself, but I went to Instagram. I went to Chloe's page. The police report video was still up, but the comments were changing. Local Guy 44. Did anyone see the article in the Ledger this morning? Briar Mom. Wait, is this true? Is the charity a scam? Facts matter. I just read that the police report is fake. This girl is lying. User 77. Why is your mom paying a consultant $100,000 when she can't pay her mortgage? The tone had shifted. It wasn't support yet. It was doubt, and doubt was all I needed. My phone rang. It wasn't Chloe. It wasn't Diane. It was Gary from Westbridge Claims. I stared at the screen. Then, a text from Chloe popped up at the top of the screen. What did you do? I didn't reply. I picked up the call from Gary. Hello? Anna, Gary said. His voice was different, respectful. We just saw the article. Our legal team reviewed it. And, it changes the context significantly. We would like you to come in. We need to talk about reinstatement. I looked at the messy table, at the timeline, at the evidence of the war I had just started. I can't come in today. Gary, I said, why not? Because I am not done. I said, I hung up. I wasn't done. I had exposed the scam, but I hadn't saved my mother, and I hadn't stopped Grant Pell. The article was just the opening shot. Now, the real fight began. I looked at Chloe's text again. What did you do? I typed a reply. I told the truth. Your turn. I didn't send it. I deleted the draft. Silence was louder. The morning the article dropped, the air in my apartment felt different. For a week, the atmosphere had been thick with the suffocating pressure of being hunted. Now, it felt like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks, the sudden drop in temperature, the static electricity raising the hair on your arms. I sat at my kitchen table, my laptop open, watching the unraveling of my sister's digital kingdom. It was happening fast. Panic is a frantic editor, and Chloe was editing in real time. At 8 a.m, she posted a video claiming the newspaper was paid off by corporate interests. She looked manic, her eyes darting around the room, her makeup applied with a heavy hand. They are trying to silence victims, she shouted into her phone. This reporter doesn't know anything. My mom is a saint. We are just trying to survive. But beneath the video, the donation link for the Legal Defense Fund remained active. At 9 a.m, she deleted that video. At 9:30, she posted a text slide. Taking a break for my mental health, the toxicity is too much. At 10, she was back. She posted a carousel of photos of our childhood. Me looking grumpy at a birthday party, me refusing to hug an aunt. The caption read, "She has always been cold, Ask anyone. But the comments were no longer a chorus of sympathy. User 455. If she is so cold, why did she pay your rent last year? The article says she has bank transfers proving it. Briar Glen Local. Is it true the police report was photoshopped? That is a felony. Girl. Watcher 88. Why did you delete the video where you asked for money? Chloe was fighting a hydra. Every time she cut off a head, blocking a user, deleting a comment, 2 more appeared asking about the money, the trust, or Grant Pell. She was spinning, posting contradictory stories. In one breath, she was protecting Mom. In the next, she was a helpless girl being bullied by the media. I didn't feel triumph. I felt a cold, hollow sadness. I was watching someone drown in a pool they had built themselves. My phone rang at 11 at night. I was sitting in the dark, watching the streetlights cast long shadows across my floor. I knew who it was before I picked it up. Diane. I let it ring 3 times. I needed to compose myself. I needed to remember that the voice on the other end wasn't just my mother. It was a co-conspirator. Hello? I said. Anna. Her voice was unrecognizable. It was small, fractured, like glass that had been stepped on. Please, she whispered. You have to stop. Stop what? I asked. Stop telling the truth? Stop the investigation. She begged. Nora Dempsey. She called the house again. She is asking about the lien. She is asking about the signatures. You have to tell her to stop. I can't tell a reporter what to do. Mom, and I wouldn't if I could. Anna, please. Diane's voice rose to a terrified sob. He is going to be so angry. He? I asked. Grant Pell? He has documents. Anna, he has everything. He promised me he would make it all disappear if I just followed the plan. But now he says I breached the contract because you found out. He says he is going to call the loan immediately. I will lose the house. I gripped the phone tight. You are going to lose the house anyway. Mom. That is what predatory lenders do. They bleed you dry and then they take the asset. No, he is a friend. He was helping. Mom, I said, cutting through her panic. I am not going to discuss this on the phone. If you want to talk to me, really talk to me. You will meet me tomorrow. I can't leave the house. There are people driving by, taking pictures. Meet me at Cedar Creek Park. I said, the north lot, 7 a.m. Come alone. If I see Chloe, or if I see a phone recording, I leave, and I give Nora the rest of the file. The rest of the file? Diane whispered. I didn't have much more, but she didn't know that. Be there. Mom. Cedar Creek Park was a desolate stretch of woods on the border of Maplehurst. At 7 a.m, the fog was still clinging to the trees, gray and damp. I sat on a concrete bench near the empty playground. It was freezing. I pulled my coat tighter. A car pulled into the lot. It wasn't the white Jeep. It was my mother's old sedan, the one she used to drive me to soccer practice in. Diane got out. She looked 20 years older than she had a week ago. Her posture was slumped, her face drawn and pale. She wore a heavy wool coat and a scarf wrapped around her head, like she was trying to hide from the squirrels. She walked over and sat on the other end of the bench. She didn't look at me. She looked at the rusted swing set. I am sorry, she said. It was a reflex, a word she used to smooth over cracked plates or forgotten birthdays. It wasn't enough for this. Sorry for what? I asked. For stealing my identity? Or for letting your boyfriend paint me as an abuser to the entire world? He is not my boyfriend, Diane said quickly. He is an advisor. He is a con artist. Mom, and you are his accomplice. Diane put her face in her gloved hands. Her shoulders shook. I was ashamed, she whispered. What? I was ashamed. Anna, look at you. You have your job. You have your apartment. You have your savings. You are so steady. And I... She gestured helplessly at herself. After your father died, I didn't know how to do it. The bills kept coming. The roof leaked. The taxes went up. I didn't want to ask you. I didn't want you to know I was failing. I wanted to be the mother who had it together. So you stole from me instead? I didn't think of it as stealing, Diane cried, turning to me. Her eyes were red and wet. I thought it is family money. It is Dad's money. If I could just use it to stabilize things, I would pay it back. I just needed time. And Grant Pell gave you a way to get it. I said, he said he could structure it. She nodded, wiping her nose. He said the trust was just sitting there, wasting away. He said if we moved it into the nonprofit, we could use it to pay off the house loan as a housing grant. He made it sound so legal, so smart, but he needed my signature. I said, yes, and I knew you would say no. You would ask questions. You would look at the math and tell me I was being stupid. I couldn't handle the lecture. Anna, I couldn't handle you looking at me with that disappointment you always have. I stared at her. The disappointment. She wasn't afraid of my anger. She was afraid of my judgment. She was so terrified of looking weak that she became criminal. So you let Chloe destroy me. I said. Diane looked away again. Chloe? She wanted to help. She really did. When Grant suggested the conflict narrative, Chloe lit up. She said she could handle the social side. She said she could make you the villain so the judge would grant the emergency order. And you let her. I was desperate, Diane sobbed. And Chloe was so good at it. She was finally doing something. Anna. For years she has just been drifting. But she had a project. She was happy. She felt important. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. She enjoyed it. I said softly. Diane didn't answer. She didn't have to. I realized then that the betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about the family dynamic. I was the responsible one, the boring one, the one who made them feel inadequate just by existing. Destroying me wasn't just a means to an end. It was a catharsis. It was their chance to knock me off the pedestal they imagined I stood on. But I wasn't on a pedestal. I was just paying my bills. Mom, I said, you are in deep trouble. Grant Pell is using Pell and Shore Advisory to funnel money out of Harbor Light. That is embezzlement. You are the director of the charity. You signed the checks. I signed what he told me to sign. That won't hold up in court. I said. Diane grabbed my arm. Her grip was weak, desperate. Help me. Anna, please. You are smart. You know how to fix things. Fix this. Tell the reporter you were wrong. Tell her we made up. I pulled my arm away. I can't fix this. Mom, I am not the fixer anymore. Then what are you? She whispered. I am the witness. I said. I stood up. You need a lawyer. Mom, a criminal defense lawyer, not Grant's lawyer, a real one. And you need to stop talking to Chloe about strategy. I turned to walk away. Anna, she called after me. Do you hate us? I stopped. I looked at the gray sky. I don't hate you, I said. But I don't trust you, and I don't think I ever will again. I left her sitting on the bench, a small, gray figure against the vast, empty park. I went straight to Elliot's office. It was a small room in a shared workspace, piled high with file boxes. Maya was there, sitting on the floor with a highlighter in her teeth. We found another one, Maya said as I walked in. Another what? Another family, Elliot said, swiveling his chair around. Nora called. A woman in Ohio saw the article online. Her mother was involved with a nonprofit that hired Pell and Shore 2 years ago. Same pattern. The mother got into debt. Grant stepped in, advised a reputation strategy against a hostile family member to seize assets. They did it to her son, Maya added. They claimed he was a drug addict. They posted videos of him looking disheveled. They got emergency guardianship and drained his college fund. It is a franchise. I said, he isn't just a consultant. He is a predator who specializes in family trauma. He finds the weak link, Elliot said. The parent who feels neglected, or the sibling who is jealous. He weaponizes them, and he takes a 30% cut. I said, we have enough. Elliot said, Nora is publishing the follow-up on Sunday. But Anna, you need to close the loop. What do you mean? The internet is still debating. Elliot said, Chloe is flailing, but she still has supporters. People are confused. They need to hear from you. not a quote in a newspaper. You? I shook my head. I am not an influencer. Elliot, I am not going to cry on camera. You don't have to cry, Elliot said. You just have to be the adult in the room. I filmed it in my kitchen. I didn't use a ring light. I didn't use a filter. I sat at my table, wearing a plain gray sweater. The wall behind me was covered in the papers Maya had taped up. The timeline, the screenshots, the trust documents. I set my phone on a stack of books. I pressed record. My name is Anna Wood. I said, I looked directly into the lens. For the past week, you have seen videos about me. You have been told that I am abusive, that I abandoned my mother, and that I am unstable. You have been asked to donate money to help my family escape me. I picked up a piece of paper. This is a time-stamped log of my location on the day my sister claims I was banging on her door. I was 20 miles away. I put it down and picked up another. This is a copy of a consent form to dissolve my father's trust. It was drafted on November 10th. That is 4 days before the argument that supposedly caused me to be disowned. The paperwork to cut me out was created before the fight even happened. I held up the photo of the identity theft report. This is a police report filed regarding the unauthorized use of my identity to notarize those documents. I put the papers down. I folded my hands. I am not asking for your sympathy. I am not asking for money. I am asking you to read the reporting by Nora Dempsey in the Briar Glen Ledger. This is not a family drama. This is a financial crime. My mother and sister are victims of a consultant named Grant Pell, who manufactures family conflict to seize assets. I paused. I felt a tremor in my voice, but I swallowed it. If you have been targeted by the Harbor Light Initiative or Pell and Shore Advisory, please contact the authorities. And to my sister, Chloe. I looked at the lens, imagining her face on the other side. I know you are watching. Stop. It is over. I reached out and pressed stop. The video was 3 minutes long. I didn't edit it. I didn't add music. I uploaded it to a blank Instagram account I created just for this, at Anna Wood Files. I posted it at 6 o'clock on Friday evening. Then I turned off my phone. Saturday morning was quiet. I didn't check the views. Maya checked them for me. 3 million, she whispered, looking at her phone. 3 million views? It is everywhere. Anna, Twitter, TikTok. People are stitching it, but they aren't mocking you. They are analyzing the documents in the background. They are calling you the receipt queen. I flinched at the nickname. I didn't want to be a queen. I just wanted my life back. At noon, the buzzer to my apartment rang. I looked at the intercom monitor. It was grainy black and white. It was Chloe. She was alone. She wasn't holding a phone. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie, looking small and deflated. I debated not letting her in, but Elliot's words came back to me. She is the bargaining stage. I buzzed her up. I opened my door but stood in the frame, blocking the entrance. Chloe stepped off the elevator. She looked terrible. Her eyes were swollen, her skin blotchy. The glossy influencer sheen was gone. "Can I come in?" she asked. Her voice was raspy. "No," I said. "Say what you need to say from the hall." Chloe wrapped her arms around herself. She looked at the floor, then at me. "It is blowing up," she said. Grant isn't answering his phone. His website is down. Mom is freaking out. She says the bank called the loan. I told you that would happen. I said. Chloe sniffed. She looked up, and for a second, I saw a flash of the old Chloe, the one who thought she could charm her way out of a speeding ticket. "Look, Anna, I was thinking, we can fix this." "How?" "If you take your video down," she said, leaning forward slightly, "I will take mine down, all of them. I will post an apology. I will say we worked it out. We can say it was a misunderstanding, a mental health crisis." People love a redemption arc. I stared at her. She still didn't get it. She was still thinking in terms of arcs and content. "It isn't a misunderstanding. Chloe, it is fraud. But if you drop the police report," she said, her voice rising in desperation, "if you tell the reporter you were mistaken, Grant might stop. He might not sue us. We can save the house. I am not dropping the report." "Chloe, why not?" she cried. "We are sisters. Because you tried to destroy me," I said, my voice echoing in the hallway. "You didn't just post a mean video. You tried to ruin my career. You tried to steal my inheritance. You tried to make me a pariah so you could buy handbags and feel famous. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But you liked it," I said. "You like the attention. And now that the attention is bad, you want me to make it go away. I can't." Chloe stared at me. The bargaining was failing. Anger began to seep back in. "You are ruining everything," she spat. "Mom is going to lose the house because of you. Mom is losing the house because she signed a predatory loan with a con man," I said, "and because you helped him. Go home." "Chloe." I stepped back and closed the door. She pounded on it once. "I hate you," she screamed through the wood. I locked the deadbolt. I walked back to my kitchen table and sat down. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter. The cord was cut. The unraveling was swift and brutal. On Sunday, Nora's second article dropped. It detailed the other families. It named Grant Pell as the architect of a multi-state scheme. By Monday, the Attorney General's office had announced an official inquiry into the Harbor Light Initiative. Grant Pell's name trended locally. Then nationally, his LinkedIn disappeared. His Pell Shore website was replaced by a 404 error. Chloe's account became a digital battlefield. She tried to delete the posts, but the internet is a vast archive. Commentary channels had already downloaded everything. People were reposting her confessions side by side with my evidence. She turned off comments. Then she went private. Then, on Tuesday, the account at Truth About Anna W. disappeared entirely. User not found. Westbridge Claims Group called me back in on Wednesday. I sat in Gary's office. He looked sheepish. "We would like to reinstate you, Anna," he said, "with back pay. And we are sorry. We reacted to the noise." I looked at Gary. I looked at the gray cubicles outside the window. It was the safe life I had fought so hard to keep. "Thank you, Gary," I said. "I appreciate that. I took the job back. I needed the money. But I knew I wouldn't stay forever. The illusion of safety was gone. I knew now that a steady job and a good credit score could be wiped out by a single viral lie. I would stay, but I would keep my eyes open. I didn't call Diane. I heard through a cousin that she was looking for a smaller apartment, that the house was in foreclosure proceedings. I heard she was devastated. I felt a pang. But I didn't reach for the phone. She had chosen her advisor. Now she had to live with the advice. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my living room. The papers were gone from the wall. The apartment was clean again. I was scrolling through Instagram on my personal account, the private one. With pictures of my plants and my books, a message request appeared. It wasn't from a troll. It wasn't from a bot. It was from a woman named Sarah. Her profile picture showed her standing next to a smiling older woman. I opened the message. "Hi, Anna. I saw your video. My sister did the same thing to me 3 years ago. Same nonprofit model. Same man, Grant Pell. I lost my nursing license because of the videos they posted. I thought I was the only one. I stared at the screen. Can we talk?" My thumb hovered over the reply button. I was tired. I wanted to be done with revenge. I wanted to be done with investigations. But I looked at the woman's face. I saw the same confusion, the same hurt that I had felt in the gas station parking lot. I wasn't the fixer anymore, but I was the witness. And witnesses have to testify. I typed, "Yes, I am listening." I hit send. The story wasn't over. It was just getting bigger. "Thank you for listening to My Sister Made an IG just to post video me getting kicked out. It went viral." This story explored the terrifying speed of digital destruction and the quiet, gritty work of reclaiming the truth. I hope Anna's journey resonated with you. I would love to hear your thoughts. Where are you listening from today? Have you ever seen a family dispute play out online and wondered what the real story was? Please leave a comment below in English. And if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Revenge Stories. We have many more tales of justice, survival, and the long road to truth coming soon. Until next time.